The Russians are routing them on every front, and it becomes much more difficult to end the war.
Sorry.
Okay. I'm sorry. Hey, y'all, it's Tim Miller from the Bulwark. I'm here with my buddy Sam Stein, and, we had to reprise our analysis of Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s videos because Bobby Jr., he's been out there as a surrogate for Donald Trump. Bobby, I saw him in the spin room. I didn't get a chance to go talk to him like I did some of the other surrogates, but he was there, and he's been doing interviews, and Sam, as a close Bobby Kennedy watcher, has been watching his interviews, and Sam is determined. He told me today that this is the worst surrogate in the history of political surrogates, and that I need to watch his efforts as an expert on the matter. Does that sound about right, Sam?
Yeah, I genuinely, well, first of all, I'm treating Bobby Kennedy's political venture as almost like an anthropological exercise. I find it like to be an interesting species of surrogate here. Also, yeah, I genuinely think that the role he has played in the last 24 hours since the debate may be one of the worst jobs I've ever seen a campaign surrogate play. He has systematically undermined Trump on various media platforms and done so in a way that like completely blows up the Trump campaign's talking points. And I just don't think I've ever seen a campaign surrogate and maybe he's not used to it, right? Like this is not him.
It's
like,
authenticity. I think it's all authenticity. It could be the brain worm also. I'm excited. We've kept people waiting too long. I'm excited to see.
Could be the brain worm. Let's do the first clip. I want to set up. This is him. So he did an interview with Neil Cavuto on Fox Business, and it's just one-on-one, and he's asked by Neil, what he feels about the debate. Let's play that clip.
Vice President Harris clearly won the debate in terms of her delivery, her polish, her organization, and her preparation. I think on substance, President Trump wins in terms of his governance, but he didn't tell that story. In fact, the first question was an extraordinary lost opportunity because there's a question, and I think Doris pointed out that she never answered.
Okay. Yeah. So on substance, Donald Trump won, but in terms of his presidency, because the substantive things that he would have won on, he didn't mention. Is that basically where he lands there?
Well, I just think that starting off by being like, the opponent won the debate is not like the first foot you want to put forward. Usually you're like, no, my guy won the debate. Like, did she get in a few jabs here and there? Sure, but no, my guy won. But he's just like, nah, let's just be clear. Kamala Harris won this thing. She won.
Then it's like on style. He starts listing all the ways in which she won. On style, on preparedness,
on presentation.
On
she was just better. She looked better. She looks so much better.
Metric. Attitude,
the one
energy.
Thing, like, well, yeah. Oh yeah, and then when he's like, "Well, Trump won on substance," and that's just like code word for like he got clocked, and like it's like But there was like a few exchanges here or there where I thought he came out okay. So I thought that was not great, but then it got kind of like funnier because Cavuto, who's not like a fan of Trump, he's a critical of Trump, but Cavuto was trying to like get Kennedy back kind of on track, and he mentions, well, there's all this Trump's out there, and he's pointing all this polling. Yeah, he's out there. He's pointing to this like Newsmax poll that says he did so well, and he's pointing to this other stuff. And he asked Kennedy, like, it doesn't that show that Trump actually did win, and Kennedy can't even take the hint. Let's play that clip.
He says, and he's commented a couple of times today, that he won the debate, and all the polls show that he won the debate. I haven't seen a single one to show that. What did you think of that reaction?
Well, I have seen those polls. They're not. They're polls that you see on the internet. And a lot of them probably have a statistical problem.
I mean,
Sorry,
again,
I do appreciate the honesty, though. He's right about
the
that.
candor.
Those polls
This
are
is
garbage.
why he was bringing in 12%, for a minute, because of his authenticity and his falconry
that's it.
skills. Just as somebody who's coached people to go on cable news before, if there's a
Yeah.
question asked where like you don't have a good answer for it, there's some tricks, that you can get taught, like
All right.
things like, well, I haven't seen the polls that exactly that Donald Trump's talking about, but I know that there are a lot of Americans out there that thought he did a great job, and then boom, pivot into message. Like
Right,
there are a
right.
lot of tricks. You're a guest host on shows on kind of weird hours on cable news, so
Yes.
you've seen the tricks.
Yeah, that's fair.
He doesn't do it.
Yeah,
Any of the tricks.
you
He's just
talk
like, no,
about-
the polls are bullshit.
No. I think I understand what you're saying. You just don't address the question, then you talk about something you want to talk about.
Right.
But when you're the campaign surrogate, it's different here, though, for him, because as he was literally saying, no, those polls are garbage, the Trump campaign was like blasting them out into the ether. They're like, oh, look at this Newsmax poll, 93-7. We trounced her. Like, oh, you idiots who think that she won Newsmax. And Kennedy, to his credit, is like, actually, that thing's not statistically or methodologically sound. It's like, who hired this guy? Take him back.
On those polls, we got a little bit of a hint of that on debate night in the spin room, and you might, I don't know if you've seen this clip already, but on Fox News is playing live when the defeated Trump shows up to the spin room, and he starts shouting out these numbers, and I want you to listen as he's talking. You hear a voice that might sound familiar, trolling him back as well. So let's actually take a listen to that clip.
It was the best debate I've ever personally that I've had. We're getting polls that show 92 to 6, 88 to 11. We're having a lot of great polls that just came out there. Polling is phone polls and lots of other polls, but you see the polls. A very important debate. Now, she wants to do another one because she got beaten tonight, but I don't know. Why wouldn't you look at her?
Okay. Yeah, so that's me shouting over the din going, why wouldn't you look at her? And then you hear a female reporter to my right shout, what are these numbers? What are these numbers? Because Trump's just up there like 66, 92, 84. And, Kennedy's up there kind of on the side of me and the woman shouting.
Well, that just shows you that Kennedy knew. Yeah, but doesn't that just show you Kennedy knew that those were the numbers he was supposed to agree were legit,
right,
and he just couldn't bring them in? Yeah, he didn't need to get talking points. He was there. He saw Trump, direct him into like citing these polls, and he just, fell on his face. Got to do better, Bobby. Got to do better than that.
Right.
There was a second Kennedy appearance that happened. I guess, kind of let's pause for a second because they're putting him on. It's kind of interesting what he's going on. He went on Cavuto, which I understand, and then he went on Piers Morgan, but they're not like putting him on like I don't know. What do you take from the fact that he's going on those places? Do you think he's just freelancing?
Maybe, but I look. I mean, Piers draws kind of a heterodox audience. I got into a shouting match with Piers recently. We did not have a peaceful transfer of power. We did not have a ceremonial transfer of power where the former president, like a man, goes and stands on the stage and greets the next incoming president, where he helps the incoming team with the transition, where the vice president's team meets with the other. That didn't happen last time because Donald Trump attempted a coup and he had a temper tantrum and he flew home to Mar-a-Lago just to go golfing,
all of which,
and to hang out with the Cougars on the pool
deck.
To be clear,
all of which
that's what happened. That's why they haven't met, because he tried a coup.
Well, to be clear, at the time I heavily criticised him for all the things you've just said, but that doesn't explain why.
Okay, sure, but Corey Lewandowski comes on your show and he's like, "Oh, Donald Trump and Kamala haven't met."
Well, hang on.
Oh my goodness,
no,
wow, that's so interesting. They haven't met, and then Corey's over there saying it's because Kamala was ineffective as a senator. No, it's because Donald Trump was supposed to be a deal maker, didn't meet with any of the Democratic senators. He said he was going to be the art of the deal man, but he didn't try to actually do any deals. All he did was insult people on Twitter, and then after he lost to Kamala Harris fair and square and Joe Biden, he didn't have the dignity
But why
have a transfer of power for the first time in American history?
Do you only shout at people? Do you have a problem that we need to address here that you're just shouting at people on TV?
I've got a lot of anger inside, Sam. I've got a lot of anger.
Is this how you get it out?
We're in year 9 of Donald Trump. You know, it's just been building. But I glanced at the comments on Pierce's page because I was kind of curious, like what kind of crowd he draws. They were very negative towards me, I do have to say. Not positive feedback about my temperament. And so that leads me to believe he's drawing more of a conservative or kind of like a heterodox weirdo audience. And so I think that Kennedy's probably trying to put him in those venues on weird podcasts and stuff because like that's where his appeal is. You don't want to put him on Jake Tapper and let Jake Tapper, kind of just run him over the coals. Like that doesn't add you a whole lot.
I would welcome viewing that, but yeah, I think that's smart to keep him off of that one. Anyway, so on Piers, the question gets into what it should be ostensibly Kennedy's wheelhouse, which is dead animals. And yet he... You like that one? And yeah, he has
decapitating whales. Did he get asked about decapitating a whale?
That's a good point. Maybe it's a specific dead animal that he's more expert at. If it was like a roadkill bear or a headless whale, he would have been like really on point. But this was about abducted dogs. I cannot believe this is like, we're not making this shit up. Like this is the stuff that's happening in real life. Anyways, he's asked about abducted dogs. For people who don't know, this is obviously, if you're living on a rock, this is like the new campaign storyline. Dogs have allegedly but not been abducted by Haitian migrants in Springfield, Ohio. Trump brought it up at the debate. Kenny's asked by Piers, like, was that smart, more or less? Let's take a listen to that one.
Let me play a clip from last night involving Donald Trump and pets.
What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
He lost a lot of opportunities to talk to Vice President Harris about the failed record of this administration. And she was able to as I said, if you look at his record, and Franklin said this as well, the previous person you interviewed, if you look at his record, people want that record. People want to go back to no inflation. They want to go back to 15 million Americans not being below the poverty line, which has happened during the Biden administration. They want to go back to where the suicide rate and the drug overdoses were low, and all of these other issues where life was affordable, or we weren't at war. But President Trump was not adept at defending his record, and I think he lost an opportunity, and I think it's sad.
Yeah, again, that was probably the more charitable one too, because he just was like kind of weirded out. It felt like by Trump bringing that up. So I don't know. What'd you make of that
at some level, I don't know. I watched that clip and I'm like, maybe Bobby should have been debating Kamala. I mean, like that little segment there was better than anything we saw from Trump the entire debate. Right? I'm trying to think. Like, did Trump have a moment during the debate that was as cogent as what Bobby just said? I don't believe he did.
That's a good point. Like, in a way, Kennedy is set the standard for Trump, and Trump, like, what was his debate response when he wasn't even the weird thing about Trump and the animals, the pets at the debate was like, he wasn't even asked about it. He just brought it up. Like, they didn't say, "Sir, like
no, it was in the same answer as where he responded to taking the bait about the fact that people leave his events early, and so then he starts ranting about how no, people love my events. They stay till the end. I don't even have an instrument up there. Nobody goes to your events. And then he pivots back because the topic was immigration, and then he pivots back and he's like, the immigration stuff, it's a nightmare, and then it's like they're eating dogs, they're eating cats, and it's like he didn't lay the ground for. So if you are not a super weirdo who was online, because now everybody knows because you mentioned it at the debate, but like before that, this was kind of relegated to a niche corner of the internet, and so if you didn't understand the reference,
you must have been like,
you're like, what is he talking about? Who's eating Who's eating dogs? Who's eating cats? Like he didn't even explain it. It's not like he was like, now there's a story in Springfield, and there are these Haitians that are coming through, and now it's caused unrest in the town, and now like he was just blurting shit out.
Have you seen any of the musical mashups of his answer?
I have the trombone one I liked. I liked the trombone mashup, and then on TikTok I liked kind of like the remix.
Yes,
Eating
there's a
dogs.
good remix
Eating
one. There's like a
dogs.
ska version of it.
Haven't seen
Yeah,
ska one.
exactly. There's a ska version of it. I liked it. I thought they were clever. Yeah, I think by broaching the subject in that manner, Trump may have given off a weird vibe. And people might have thought this man is kind of losing it a little bit. And to your point, I guess Kennedy sort of did a better job there. I'm sorry we played that clip. I'm sorry that we played that clip in the context of making fun of Kennedy, because
I do. Again, it does show his weak. I mean, it shows his weak. Like the tag team is weak. It's tough to surrogate for Trump, and Kennedy, is like framing that answer as a criticism of him, which is not what you're supposed to do.
How the hell would you?
You have Corey Lewandowski out there, and you're just doing Piers, I'm sorry, it's a serious problem. The migrants are eating people. And now, I also think you should talk about this other thing. Like, I'm not saying that's morally correct, but just on the points, if you're Donald Trump and you're sitting at home and you've got Piers Morgan on your Super TiVo, and you see RFK up there, like first you're kind of annoyed by his voice, and then after that you're like, why is he criticizing me? I thought he's on my team.
That's the thing. He did have a subtle not a subtle, it was a fairly upfront criticism about Trump being unable to kind of talk in a politically potent way about it. I guess part of me was wondering if I don't want to even say it, but did RFK look at the cat eating, dog eating story and say, I'm interested. I got stories. It doesn't seem so crazy.
Oh, I thought you were going to say maybe he was worried as a vulnerability for himself, but you're thinking maybe it was like, what's wrong with eating dog exactly? Where are we going with this?
How do they?
And you certainly know that RFK
How did they season it? How did they season it? Was it sautéed or barbecued?
Because what you're seeing out there on the MAGA web today is like there's this picture of this black guy carrying a goose. It's like, who the hell knows if it's a Haitian person, if it's even in Springfield or whatever. But it's like it's being tweeted by Congress people, and it's like,
I know, it's crazy.
But my thing is, if you're RFK and you're looking at that video, you're like, number one, okay, I'm a man of integrity here, and if the poll is not a real poll, I'm going to tell you, and I have to note that goose is not a duck or a cat. That is not a pet. Okay, that's a goose. And number two, I have to mention is RFK. I've nabbed some geese out of the park. I've skinned them. I've thrown them in my car. I got a freezer full of geese. Like, why are we fingering the Haitian migrants on this?
I know. There is a bit of irony in the campaign that's trying to make political hay out of people eating pets and stuff.
That's
deploying the surrogate, most famous for picking up roadkill and then placing it in Central Park. It's like this, I guess he has some fluency in discussing this stuff, but like, come on, you have people with cleaner hands, literally and figuratively here.
Literally cleaner hands.
I don't want to go down. I don't want to go down that road. I can't relive that video too much. I probably could relive it, but let's end on a funnier note. There was a moment, and this also pertains to geese in a weird way. There's a moment in this.
Goose moment in the Piers
There was a moment in the Piers interview that was almost too perfect, and I did a double take, and I had to listen to it again. And I was like, yeah, I think that is what I heard. And it's brief and it's fleeting and it's beautiful. And it just brings it all home. This was a brief interruption in the Piers Morgan interview. Let's just play that clip if we can.
I'm excited.
The Russians are devastating the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians have lost the war. The Russians are routing them on every front. And it becomes much more difficult to end the war.
Sorry.
Okay. I'm sorry. I haven't actually seen that yet. I do have to say, just really quick, because it's a serious politics show. On the substance, the Russians are not routing the Ukrainians. Actually, the Ukrainians are defending themselves very ably and have killed a lot of Russians. I do have to say that.
Who gives a fuck about the substance? Come on.
Was that he said it's quacking? You've listened to it several. So his phone his phone ring is
His phone started
quacking.
quacking. His phone ring is
Russians are
quack.
devastating the
Let's hear it
Ukrainians.
again.
The Ukrainians have lost the war. The Russians are routing them on every front, and you know it becomes more.
How does Cheryl
much
live
more
like this?
difficult to-
How does his wife
to
live like
end
this?
the war.
His phone, every time he gets a fucking text or a phone call, his phone
Can you
quacks.
Can you imagine having that as your background noise? Honey, change the fucking ringer on your phone. Enough with the fucking duck ringer. I mean, honestly, that's just madness.
Or
and the fact that
Or
Piers
maybe
Morgan
it was
just-
like a Haitian migrant call.
Oh, too soon. The fact that Piers Morgan is just sitting there and doesn't even comment on it. I mean, he's what a pro. What a fucking pro that guy is. He's like, I'm not going to let this stuff distract me.
Piers is having me back on. I think I heard. Piers having me
You
back
got
on the show. Even
if
after
you do,
our, yeah.
If you do, I want you to set your phone to a duck ring. Let me know the time. I'm going to call you strategically.
I'm not going to quack. I'm not letting my phone quack on Piers Morgan. Sam, this has been good. It's RFK is just the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
We'll keep checking in with it. Sam is on it. I'm not
I'm
watching
on it.
his interviews as religiously as Sam. I've got a lot on my plate. And it's not
Meanwhile,
dog or
me, I'm
cat
just
or
that's
goose.
all I do. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not dog, it's not cat, it's not goose, it's not bear on my plate. It's it's other content creation for you, the viewer. So I hope you enjoyed this. Tell your friends. We have a little series of me and Sam watching these things, giggling. I hope you enjoy it. Subscribe to the feed. Give us a little thumbs up there, and we'll be seeing you soon.